hard I can feel. Anyway, I'm sorry.
But yeah,
All right.
so as you listen to this song, to me, the title is The Experiment, and it's by K Reno. It made me think the hardest out of all of them, due to the simple fact that it's like it's a story within a story, and it's so freaking impactful because you're sitting there like, dang, what if this is actually happening right now? Like, this is the
So it's kind of like okay. I don't mean to keep using movie analogies, but because I haven't started reading it yet, I'm just scanning over it. But just based off of what you just said, so if we're doing movie comparisons, if we're going to say that Skits Craven is Saw and Eminem is Freddy versus Jason, based off of what you just said, K Reno's is like Jordan Peele's Us, or something like that, where there's something going on, but then there's something even bigger happening right out in the open, and it all just crashes together very chaotically and in a terrifying sense to make you think more than it changes the way that you feel physically. So it's gonna leave you with the damn, what if that's what's really going on right now? Because
exactly.
Because I don't know if you've seen the movie Us, but that movie will leave you sitting there thinking, well, shit, like, because that's the type of movie that is. It's suspenseful, it's gory, it is terrifying, it is absolutely terrifying, but not in the jump scary, but it's like, it fucks with your brain terrifying, because it really like makes you think about what you're seeing around you and if any of it is, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
So that's what I'm comparing this to. Before I even read
it. It's like Us went political, so to speak.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it like that. I think it's more like Us being more political influenced. And sorry, my dog just woke up from his long nap.
I got 3 kids in my house right now, so I'm not tripping on whatever noise.
But go ahead.
So I got the first verse. I don't know. It's not labeled. First, we'll conceive and create them.
Well, read up to. You would have to start part
it sounds like it's a group of people talking.
Yeah, it says, has the council gathered? And he's like, yes sir, we have. And then he's like, what will be the new experiment? And there's like manipulating behavior patterns of inferior species. And then it's like, yes, yeah. And basically he wants them to proceed with this plan.
Okay. All right. So that's the intro. I didn't think that was important. That's why I didn't read it out loud. But
it's kind of, to me, I find it extremely important because it kind of sets the mood to actually knowing what's really going on. Like if you go, but yeah. So
the setting. So
he's like, okay, I'll tell you the plan.
Okay. Go ahead.
I thought you were gonna read it.
Oh, okay. Shit. Okay, so first we'll conceive and create them, mold them and shape them, break them into groups, then conjugate them and make them. Let them reproduce, then make offspring, then raise them. Oblivious to who truly teaches and educates them, will take from the masses and place them in classes and rate them all based on each economical status. Some we will exalt to the highest, while the others will let fall. Then we'll slowly analyze how one's privilege, Then we'll slowly analyze how one's privilege affects all. If that's not the most relevant shit I have ever read in my life. And I just want to, as far as relevancy to what's happening right now with the state of the country. Because, okay, so I'm going to give you just my take on this first quarter of this verse.
Oh, yeah.
this is like the boardroom where the council is meeting. I'm gonna call it the
UN.
I'm gonna call it the universe. And the presenter is like the god of the world, the earth. And the universe is saying, okay, well, you have a presentation to present. Let's walk us through it and tell us what you're gonna do. All right, so first we're gonna create human beings. We're gonna put them on this planet, spread them out nice and thin, let them reproduce and populate, grow and mature. We're gonna give them specifics to learn about themselves, but only we know what they're going to learn. They're not discovering anything new. What they're learning, we're giving to them. So we're going to place information here and here and here and here, and that information is going to spread, and they're going to be knowledgeable. We're going to make some of them, we're going to put some of them on a pedestal. We're going to leave the rest of them alone or let them drop. And we're going to see if people on the pedestal will affect the people on the bottom, and we're going to watch what it is that they do that affects each other. So, and I don't want to dive into religion, but a lot of people have their misconceptions about God and the universe and how everything works. So for him to personify it in a story like this, and I don't know what's going to happen, but according to you, it's going to fuck me up. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I see where it's going. And I know that it's not going to be good. Whatever direction it's going, it's not going to end well. I can feel that in my, whatever the bottom of your stomach is called. Okay, so let me put my glasses back on.
Yeah, we need you to have your eyes.
I can't see a damn thing without my glasses. Velma thinks and shit. So, he said, then we'll slowly analyze how one's privilege affects all. We'll construct a dual system for the poor and the rich, for the poor one and the rich one, and study how they blend and acclimate to their conditions. I had to think about it. We'll divide them into sections and keep sharing this approach, and let the wealth and the poverty then measure the characters of both. Provide physical temptations that treats, lure, and entices. Create dependencies on our electronic devices. Program and make the man's fragile psyche indecisive, and watch the nicest ones become savages in a crisis. Wow. What? Hold on. What? What year did this song come out? Because this nigga is telling me this came out last year. Okay, so it's on the bottom of this of Genius's website where I got the lyrics from. It got the artist K Reno, the album Divine DNA. Or 3 weeks later is the name of the album. I'm sorry. This came out last year. This nigga is telling the future because I'm gonna tell you why. And watch the nicest ones become savages in a crisis. What was the most? I'm taking my glasses back off. What was the most ridiculous thing? What was the most ridiculous thing that people were fighting for this past year? The most ridiculous. I want you to think about this real hard. The most ridiculous thing that people were literally fighting for in grocery stores, convenience stores, department stores, anywhere they could go. What was the most ridiculous thing?
Toilet paper.
Fucking toilet paper. So, and in regards to what's happening with the country right now, living in Nashville, Tennessee, in the beginning of March of 2020, East Nashville, North Nashville, and I want to say Smyrna and Laverne or Mount Juliet, Smyrna and Mount Juliet got hit with a devastating tornado. I'm talking streets that I walked down as a teenager constantly were destroyed. Trees, 2 blocks, literally down the street and around the corner from my childhood home where I grew up from the ages of 5 to 23 was gone. Power towers toppled, houses destroyed, trees,
churches ripped.
The park that I would walk to damn near every single day for 3 summers straight, destroyed. 2 blocks from my childhood home, everything toppled. Restaurants, buildings, facilities, everything was gone. And for like 2 weeks, people volunteered to help clean up and patch things up and put things together, and it was beautiful. But then the coronavirus outbreak put a pause on all of that. So if you drive around Nashville, Tennessee right now, as of today, I don't know what date it is, but it's June something. If you drive around Nashville right now, you will still see the aftermath of this horrific storm from early March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Because the coronavirus put a stop on all of that. So the city of Nashville was crumbling for weeks. And these niggas went banana nut crazy for like 5 days over motherfucking toilet paper.
Shoot, it went longer than that.
So much distress in a natural disaster and a global pandemic, and you dirty bastards are fighting each other over goddamn toilet paper.
Right.
That savage in a crisis is exactly what happened to the entire country, because these are, you know, hardworking individuals who probably don't even give a fuck if you mess up their order at a fast food restaurant. But you're fist fighting, snatching bundles out of old people's hands for fucking toilet paper? Like, I never understood why that became a thing.
Because
it's not no more, because I'm starting to see them. It's not, you couldn't go into no Dollar General store, no Family Dollar store, no Kroger,
Big Lots, anywhere.
Nothing. It was gone. All of it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it got so bad, they started taking baby wipes. I'm just like, dude, you gonna take
everything became affected. Like, even people were buying like 30 gallons of milk just for no reason.
I've never seen
like I barely finish a full gallon of milk, let alone 30 gallons of milk. Thinking
I've never finished a full gallon of milk in my entire life. A half gallon, plenty of time. But a full gallon, no. It always goes bad. You never finish a full gallon of milk unless you have like a family of 7 and y'all all eating cereal at the same time. Like, you don't do that.
So these people are buying unnecessary things, like 20 packs of waters, and
it just doesn't.
When the statewide had a mandate that you can take max of 2 things of toilet paper, that's a problem. When you get limits, when you have to ration out the items that you get, because people don't know how to act.
They panicked, and I don't even know why it was toilet paper. I can get the water and bread. That's essential, period, in a crisis situation. But you're stocking up on something that literally is not going anywhere. It can't go bad. It can't expire. It can't get old. It can't be ruined unless you get it wet, which it comes wrapped in plastic, so that's not going to happen. I've just never seen people
act so malicious over an item that is
savage.
And,
that's the perfect word to describe what people were during that 5-day period was when it was really, really bad. And then there was none for 2 weeks. You had to wait 2 weeks so the stores could restock, and then it kind of went back to normal after that. But I've never, and people make jokes about looking back on the year 2020, what was the most outrageous thing that people just blew money on? It was the fucking toilet paper.
Shoot, that was people buying it just so they can sell it, so they can make
And
hundreds of dollars off.
That's the ugliest. That's the ugliest thing in the world. You're gonna buy all of this goddamn toilet paper, and instead of giving it to people who need it, you're gonna sell it for 3 times its value. Are you kidding me?
A little $1 thing of toilet paper gonna be $25 for no reason.
People are disgusting.
Oh, you need this paper, right? You need to wipe your ass, right? You gonna buy it.
I'm gonna fuck around and buy washcloths and wash them hoes every single day before I buy a $20 roll of 1-ply toilet paper.
Right.
I ain't gonna get the job done.
It's tearing the whole dang time to begin with. But yeah, that line together.
Savage in a crisis is niggas buying toilet paper for absolutely no reason at all. That's right. Savage in a crisis. All right, so I'm gonna keep. That is, god damn, this nigga told the future. This nigga is telling the future.
And it gets more in depth.
He knew this was gonna happen. He knew it. He saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See each step of this game for years. Keep it the same. Present to them a goal in life that they'll never obtain. Within the range of our power, each child will be born, then place chemicals in them to see how their bodies respond. We'll keep the poor that way by denying them a favor and see how long they take to restore their violent behavior. We'll subject their generations to uncompensated labor, enslave them all, and make them still love their instinct. This is, I gotta keep taking my glasses off, man. Because I can't, I gotta be able to not see so I can think.
Right. You know, you gotta put your thinking cap on. That really requires you to take your glasses off.
My glasses, granted, I need my glasses to see, because again, I'm Velma Dinklage.
But the thinking cap is when that
I gotta be able to cut one sense off so that the other ones can work at full capacity.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like placing blinders.
So I can think.
It's like it's placing blinders, so you don't get too distracted.
There you go. So this nigga is telling, and again, I don't want to dive into the religious parts, but this is God speaking to the council of the universe, telling us exactly what his diabolical plan. Give them a goal that they can never obtain. My philosophy on life is your spirit and your soul are intertwined with each other. So when you die, your spirit can take your soul and reincarnate as another being, whether it be an animal or a person or whatever. And each soul has a goal to accomplish on earth with their time. And until you accomplish that goal 100%, you're going to just keep coming back until you do it. So every time you come back, you know more about what it is that you can do, and you'll be better at it the next time around. And when you're finished, you can, you know, reincarnate with the atoms in your spirit to come back as something within the universe, whether it be a star or an atom, because we're all made of the exact same thing.
Right.
So for this guy to say, give them a goal they will never obtain, that means if by my logic, you'll just be recycling over and over again for eternity, because you'll never succeed at what you were created to do.
Right. Like, and then
something specific, and if you can never accomplish that, you're gonna just keep going for eternity. You'll never not be here.
Right. And that's just like the like Logic had a little thing where he was like in his album, I forgot, the Untold Stories or the Incredible Story or something like that. It was where it was these astronauts, and it basically talked to this guy, and was like, you know, everybody is one, and after each life is you. Like, you don't even know that the person next to it is you. It's just they're going into a different like path, trying to find this utopian type of like thing in the universe or whatever.
We're all made of the same things. Like,
right.
That's
so he's like, until everybody finds their path, or they achieve that one goal or whatever, you won't become me. And to me, you can label me as God or whatever you want, but ultimately, you won't be at a higher power until everybody on this collective planet come to one accord, which is you.
Which is also never going to happen because
And
there's always going to be one person.
To me,
like, well, I disagree with that. There's always one person.
Right, and then I take it also to a point where it's like, you know, when you're a kid, you have these ambitions, and you're like, oh, I want to become a firefighter, or I want to become the president, or you want to place yourself in these power positions, and then you ultimately become like a dish server or
something low class or something at the bottom.
Like something that's like nowhere close to your dream goal, or where you want to be. Most of the time, like I'm sure, like when I was a kid, I have pictures of me saying I want to be a cop. I have no intention of being a cop. My brother, on the other hand, he's a cop, and I have another brother who's a judge, or who wants to be a judge. But you know, everybody have these different ambitions, but those are not the ultimate like direction you're gonna go.
Right. And
I see them saying, give them something that they want, and then they'll never obtain. They're like, I'm gonna give it. He wants to become president. He's never gonna become president. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like, oh man, shit, I wanna run this multi-billion-dollar corporation, or I'm gonna own the biggest clothing store. And you might work at a clothing store. You might work at Nike. Like you might not be you might not own your own shoe or have your own brand, but you don't work somewhere and look smaller than what you.
And it's gonna be good enough for you because you'll say to yourself, well, at least I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, at least I'm associated with shoes.
Yeah, and I can honestly say the same thing about myself, because again, as you grow and mature and discover yourself, your mind is going to change about certain things. So for example, me, when I was in elementary school, I wanted to be a music teacher because music was my favorite class and I love music and I wanted to be able to teach music. And then when I got into middle school, I was like, fuck that shit. I went to a graduation at my dream college and said, man, this is a beautiful place. I would love to come here. I ended up going there to study audio engineering because I wanted to be a music producer, because it still has something to do with music. And, you know, it's more, I'm by myself in the little room, pulling knobs and flicking switches and all that good shit. Mm-hmm. That didn't work, obviously. And now I'm here doing my podcast about music, which of course is evolving now into other things. So I can say at least I'm still doing something that has to do with music. So maybe what I wanted, my goal originally, wasn't what was destined for me as a person, but I can also say that I'm getting what I asked for, because I'm still doing what I want to do. I'm still telling stories.
And you're still teaching, honestly, if you think about it.
So yeah, so even if you don't do exactly what you said you wanted to do, if you get close enough, you can turn that into what you've always wanted to do. And you can, without reaching, you can't say that you want to own your own shoes and work at like Payless or some shit like that. Like, that's not the same thing. It is, but it's not.
Unless you buying like hordes of Payless shoes and selling them.
There you go. Or if you're the type of person who like buys like $10 shoes from Walmart and then you custom paint them and then sell them back for like $25, then you can, you know what I'm saying, you're doing something. But
right.
So even in that sense, what you originally want as your goal may not be your like end point, but you'll find that wherever you end up at is closer than what you may think to your original goal if you're still passionate about it. It's all about how much you're passionate about something. You can say, oh, I want to be a judge, I want to be president, I want to be, a police officer. If you're not passionate about those things, then you're never going to even get close. But if you're passionate about it, you'll at least get close. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then I want to pick up on that, the line where he talks about enslaving them all.
Yes.
And still making
that broke my heart.
we as Black individuals, and I'm gonna be biased because I'm a Black man, and I can always say my ancestors were enslaved or what have you, but we're not the only people who ever been enslaved. Jews were enslaved, Asians were enslaved, so on and so forth. Even in Egypt, it says it in the Bible that Moses and them were slaves at one point in time. So not even just speaking of the as of now type of thing, but over the course of history.
Because you know how some people will be like that. So.
Right. Yeah. I just want to establish that I'm not gonna put myself in this, but as far as enslavement, everybody who has been enslaved, and yes, some people feel like they're more entitled now than in previous generations, but we all have those feelings. When you're enslaved, you're gonna always want more outside of it because we've been in this difficulty for this duration, and I don't think 50 years or 20 years or 100 years is even worth the value of enslavement, which was 400 or whatever the amount of time was. I want to get my due. Right. So yes, you can have some entitlement in there, but when he says that, it makes you instantly think whatever your culture is. Shit, Irish was fucking enslaved, and that's where we got the potato to begin with. So it's like all these colonies have been enslaved, and when you see the line, you initially believe that he's talking about just the individual culture who is listening in. So it could be a white person who's listening in. Oh well, my family grew up with Jews, and I do understand the enslavement, and I still love my enslaver because. Okay,
for the record, the difference between African American slavery and slavery around the world is acknowledged as being a terrible, terrible thing, and the rest of the world's countries have tried countless times to make up for that. The United States does not give a shit. They will do everything they can to sweep that under the rug. Versus everywhere else, they are well aware of just how bad it is. Not only are they apologizing publicly for it, but they're making sure that whoever was oppressed by that knows that the rest of the country is grieving with them, and they are making efforts to
make amends.
Yeah, to make amends. The United States is not doing anything.
Yeah, because I don't know about my 40 acres and a mule, but
I don't think that doesn't exist. I think it's something people like to say, but
right. I don't even think we got enough land for that shit. But
but when it comes to just the line, enslave them all and make them still love their enslaver, it's, for me, what I took from it is an overall sense of, you're all praying to me, because again, this is God in the boardroom of the universe explaining to the universe how he's going to handle human beings on earth. So regardless of what you call me, regardless of what your religion is, you're still going to look up to me and pray to me and adore me and love me, and I'm just going to keep trying my hardest to make your lives miserable. And this isn't to imply that any religion is toxic or bad. This is what I'm taking from the words of this song.
Right.
I think he's trying to say.
And as you were saying that this entity enslaving these humans or whatever, to them praying to whatever they want to call them, the entity, you can always think of it. I'm gonna be more specific. With the Black community, we were enslaved, and then we were taught religion from our slave masters or whatever.
Religion was supposed to save us somehow.
Right. When ultimately our the same people that we were being enslaved by didn't actually believe the same religion that they were giving us.
Right.
So to me, that line is just so powerful because it can trickle down. You think, oh, in this culture, this happened and we sitting there and we're just gonna abide by it, and hundreds of years later we're still abiding by these rules and these religions and these books that we've been told to, this is what's going to save you, this is your divinity, this is your enlightenment, this is going to help you get through your problem, when ultimately the problem is giving you something to help you get through your problem. So that line is ignorant,
it feels powerful. Like, because you're so hung up on the way things are, regardless, which in the case of this song, regardless of what you believe, again, he's planting knowledge into the world. So whatever you think you know, he already knew that, he just gave it to you, just found it too late. So you being so caught up in where you stand religiously is keeping you from seeing that we're all pretty much on the exact same page. We're just reading it in like a different language or from a different book, different versions, but it's all the same thing. We're all still abiding by the laws of one almighty powerful ruler who in actuality is just doing shit and seeing how we react to it.
Right.
Is probably the ugliest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So I'm going to keep going from that line. Okay. Will endanger them and... I'm sorry, I had a message pop up. Will endanger them and afterwards they'll call on us to... See? Will endanger them and afterwards they'll call on us to save them. Trust our doctors to cure the sicknesses that we gave them. Make them spend all their days trapped in an unfair maze. Purposefully prepare slaves through radio airwaves. Formulate drugs and then distribute them through every state and make conditions that cause them to use them to... I'm gonna have to add this song to my motherfucking playlist because this nigga is purposefully prepare slaves through radio airwaves, formulate drugs, and then distribute them through every state and make conditions that cause them to use them to escape.
Right. If you listen to that literally is one of those things where you gotta take my goggles off.
I don't understand. Look, okay, can I go through it real quick?
Sure.
Fresh on my... So this God is purposefully making your life way, way harder than it has to be, regardless of where you stand. Everything, if the title fits, it's an experiment. We're just gonna see how this plays out. So I'm gonna put you in a situation where you'll be introduced to a heavy narcotic that is for sure going to fuck up your life. But the only reason why you're taking it is because your life is already fucked up. And you think this is gonna make it better. In actuality, I know this is gonna make whatever your situation is so much worse. But you don't know that, I do. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna give you this little jar of heroin in your fucked up ass world over there because you're confused, you're trapped, you're lost, you don't know where you're going. Everything's falling apart, you're in chaos all the time. I'm gonna give you this little jar of heroin and we're gonna see how you react to that. Because you're thinking that that's gonna help you. I know it's going to destroy you even more than you're already being destroyed. You're destroying yourself and now you're gonna do that at an even higher rate because I am giving you something to make it worse. Right.
And then
what the fuck is wrong with you? Like,
right. And then you gotta think about it like this as well. You find even in middle class how they give you that idea like, oh, this drug is gonna help you. But if you listen to all the side effects, it sounds like it's gonna kill you in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
it's
gonna get
inflammatory. It's gonna give you diarrhea or some shit. It's just like,
no, it gets real worse. Oh, it might cause lesions in your throat.
Oh no, you're gonna get blood clots and heart attack or a stroke. You're gonna lose feeling in your feet. You can't drive or operate machinery.
Right, or it gives you internal bleeding.
Brain damage. What? I just have a little gas. I just want to get the gas to go away. I don't want to fucking die from this. So, and with that notion, that same concept of giving the person who's down on their luck, heroin, because they think it's going to help. You're going to give these rich people antidepressants, which antidepressants have to be the worst drug on the planet. Because once you start taking them, you start feeling better, but then you can't take them anymore. That depression comes back and punches you square in the face. Like hard as shit. So now you're even more depressed than you were before you started taking them. And if you can't take them anymore, you're in a worse state than you started out with. So it doesn't have to necessarily be heroin to the poverty junkie. It could be antidepressants to the rich housewife, or anti-inflammatory disease to the middle class working man who just wants to make his stomach stop bubbling, or whatever the fucking anti-inflammatory diseases are. I'm not a doctor, damn it. So it could be any form of that. But whatever it is you think is making your life better, when I know for a fact that it's gonna fuck you up way more than you've already been. And that is awful.
Right.
It's absolutely awful. And I cannot believe he said that. Let me put my glasses back on. Because I'm gonna keep going. Because this song right here is blowing my mind.
Right.
This is exactly like This Is Us by Jordan Peele. That's what this is. Because I'm fucked up in the head right now from this. Okay, so where was I at? What if we make them run to evil and see good? Reluctance. Make them prioritize the superficial over the substance. Let's form a secret government to do the really shady acts. Deny people basic human rights to see how they react. This nigga is seeing into the future. Like, let's form a secret government to do the really shady acts, then deny people basic human rights to see how they react. Another really big topic is equality right now. That's the next big thing. 2020 is a horrible last year. We all know this. If it's not one thing, it's another. But a really big thing that's going on right now is basic human equality. Right. Why does this man who shot up this church full of 7 people get to go to Burger King and drink water, but the man who supposedly tried to buy groceries with a fake $20 bill choked out in the middle of the street in the middle of the afternoon, and the only reason why the people involved got arrested was because the video got out and everyone demanded they get arrested. They weren't gonna get arrested. Why the fuck is
that okay?
No, I'm not fixing my glasses off because I need you to hear me. And I don't want to dive too deep into this, but it's relevant to this line. Out of all of these really bad cases that have happened in just this past month, or just these past 2 months, the biggest one that bothers me, and it bothers me, is Breonna Taylor's case. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
She was sleeping in her house, and at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 random ass niggas busted down her door and just started shooting. They didn't say, freeze this, please, everybody get down right now on the ground. They didn't do none of that. They busted down her door and they just started shooting. 22 shots, 8 of them hit her body. And I just found out recently that nobody told her mother immediately. She wasn't immediately alerted. They had this woman running around the entire city looking for her daughter. She was already dead. For like 4 hours, she was running around hospitals, police precincts, looking for her daughter. She was already dead for 4 hours. These 3, I don't even know a word that can fit them properly, but these 3 individuals who did this are just going off living their lives like ain't shit happened. Like they didn't just murder somebody. Meanwhile, her boyfriend who was in the house with her is under the impression that someone is breaking into their house. They're shooting at me. I have to protect my woman. I have to protect my house. I have to protect me. I'm going to grab my gun. I'm going to start shooting back. Why in the blue fuck did he get arrested on site for assaulting a police officer and attempted murder, but these 3 men actually killed this woman and they're just walking?
Right.
That's what bothers me the most, is that
it makes no sense.
And her boyfriend got arrested immediately. And they're just out here. That right there is like someone took a corkscrew and just stirred my stomach with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, cause she literally, and then, you know, cause you can argue, oh, well, George Floyd fought back. He resisted arrest. Oh, well, Ahmaud Arbery shouldn't have ran. He was guilty. He shouldn't have ran from him.
But there's going to always be a what if.
She was literally asleep in her house. It was 2:00 in the morning. She was an EMT working at 2 hospitals during a global pandemic. 2 hospitals. That's 2 double shifts. She was sleeping. Something that everybody does. Everybody has the right to do it in her own house. And they killed her.
Right.
And they're just out here. And her boyfriend is in jail because he tried to protect her and protect himself. And they're just out here.
Right. And
that bothers.
Right, because that could have been any of us.
Anybody. That could have been literally anyone.
Dude, and it's not like they just had a search warrant.
None of that.
It was
none of that.
It was one of those impulsive things that happened.
The search warrant might have been false. It could have been a false search warrant. Like I said, they gave her mama the runaround for 4 hours. They didn't tell her where she was or the men involved. They tried to make it seem like it never even happened. Meanwhile, she's panicking, trying to figure out what the hell happened to her daughter. And the nigga that they were looking for was already arrested. She was in a completely different part of town than the guy that they were looking for, and he had already been arrested. And then something else dawned on me, that someone said, well, they bursted in, they didn't say who they were out of uniform, and they just started shooting. So if they would have gone to the right house, they would have just done the exact same thing at the right house. And
it still wouldn't have been justified.
Exactly. So
nothing have been justified, because to me, I don't care who you are. If you don't want to announce yourself coming into my house, we can be best friends. Like, if you come to my house 3:00 in the morning to wake me up out my sleep, or just bust into my house in general without giving your presence known, and you just start shooting,
what am I supposed to think?
To me, I'm trying to protect my family, my household, because I'm a male, and that's what I'm supposed to do. That's my role. Exactly. I'm supposed to make sure my family is taken care of.
Exactly.
And that doesn't cut off when we all go to sleep. That happens all night, every day, 25/8. Like, we make sure supposed to make sure this household is taken care of. So, as we go into those topics, it's just one of those things that hit you because it's truthful actions. Like, these people have the right to justify their actions, but when you take that right to justify your actions and you initiate a confrontation, or you do something that you're not supposed to do, when you're supposed to be doing the right thing, because that's your role. You're supposed to enforce rules and everything, and you don't abide by your own rules.
They were the only ones who was in the wrong. Her boyfriend did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Right.
Exactly what he was supposed to do.
There was no reason to do what they did, but yes, they might have felt justified.
Nothing about it is justified. Nothing about her case makes sense. This whole story is just infuriating because it could have been anybody. It could have
been you or anybody.
It could have been anyone.
That could have been a kid that they shot up.
And I thought, I thought it was because, you know, Breonna Taylor's a young black woman, just like I'm a young black woman. And, you know, whenever I hear cases about young black women like myself, I feel a personal connection to it. But the fact that it could have literally been anybody.
Shoot, y'all could have shot up dogs, y'all could have shot children, it could have been anything and everybody.
Anyone in that apartment.
Right. And like they could have went the next door over, it still would have been wrong.
And they just out here.
Right. And it's just like I get there's a video going around of one of the guys from your pause, I think. But one of the cases from the George Floyd case that was in a grocery store. Out on bail. I saw that. Yeah. And you know, the little white woman, you know, she was antagonizing, and a lot of people were like, oh, he that's still harassment, that's stalking, and yeah, I get that. But to me, that's one of those things that's just like when like Nipsey Hussle died. Mm-hmm. Like people always talk about, oh, well, y'all just letting this person do this and that and whatnot. Like his gang was supposed to retaliate. They didn't, so it makes the entire gang look bad. It makes an entire people. It still would have been a problem. Right. It makes an entire people look bad. Like the guy who did the whole speech, like y'all targeting only 2% of the police department when all of us good working people. That it makes you look bad when you have unlawful things happen, unjustified things happen, people doing the wrong things at the wrong times, in any race, any way. But when your job is literally to enforce the right thing, there is no reason to try to put the blame on anybody else but your department, your organization. Exactly. And it's so unfair to say, oh, well, maybe if they would have did this, because that's literally your job is to take the what if out. Exactly. You're supposed to know, and if something got escalated, take it to court.
And you know what's crazy is there are a lot of police officers who have, in those situations, de-escalated a situation. Right. And they get fired for it. Right. That's why they don't do it. Because they know if they do the right thing, they're not going to have a job anymore.
And I don't know if you know who Dick Gregory is.
I've heard the name before.
He just recently died, like I think last year or so. But he said that the only way you can make the police department take accountability is if you basically make each police officer get like life insurance. So if you if something escalates to where you have to kill someone, that's almost like a ding on your record. Okay. Like, so is my killing me, my life, so important that if you get 2 more dings on your report, that you'll lose your job, you won't be able to take care of your family no more. Right. Is my life more important than that?
Now I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like the more arrests they get, the more people that they, obtain, it's a positive versus a negative. But I don't know any police. Well, I don't know any police officer. Period. I don't know any police officer who is proud to kill people. If the only reason why you're a police officer is so you can kill innocent people for no reason,
you shouldn't. That's not your position.
That's not. You shouldn't take you're that a serial job. Killer. Like you are a serial killer. If that's what
you should actually be incarcerated on that behalf. Absolutely. If your homeboy is one of your employees or your coworkers, and he hears you do that, he should make a citizen arrest just because you are out of pocket.
You don't need a gun on your waist, a taser. You don't need none of that shit because you don't know how to use it properly. You're gonna use it to your advantage and your benefit without any type of logic or reasoning behind anybody else's feelings. You're a sociopath. You don't need a gun. I'm gonna keep reading because if I keep talking, I'm gonna be mad. I'm so very.
It definitely infuriates because there's a whole lot of unnecessary that happens in that political field.
But he goes on to say, let's promise them riches if they put their souls on the block. We'll control all that they listen to and all that they watch. Tamper with frequencies. Let's clone the animals and the food. Give the people faulty medicines just to alter their moods, which kind of plays back into the whole rich housewives on antidepressants bullshit.
Yeah. We can and all those drug dealers who think they can make quick money on the block by selling drugs that we just gave them, type of thing.
And I think it just all boils down to everything is controlled by the one being in charge. And it's fucked up because we're just little characters on the we're just little pawns in the game. Let me say, we can play with human hormones. Let's see where this goes. Wonder what happens when we let women and men switch roles, or better yet, switch our bodies. No one's heard of these things. Gender bending pharmaceuticals and surgical means, which is a ugly little shout out to the LGBT community because you're what happens if men and women switch roles, or better yet switch bodies? Obviously that's talking about transgender people. So you're going to purposefully put men in women's bodies and put women in men's bodies, which is going to force them to go, hey, that's not
we're
right.
Our own
I gotta
people.
Fix it. And now I gotta go through surgeries, medication, hormone therapy, all that shit to be back.
All that does is make people feel like they have to be even more isolated because now I gotta be a part of a certain group so I can fit in. Because now I'm gonna have people who just like one gender or this gender or that gender, and I'm just an oddball. So I have to fit into a group.
Which it kind of blew my mind, which this is gonna make me sound like an idiot, so excuse me for those who may be tuning in. It kind of surprised me how ancient transgenders are, you know, because I was always under the impression that, you know, this is just something that people wanna. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, I feel like I'm a man on the inside and I was born a woman. No, I know I'm a cis female, which is cisgender, whatever the fuck that word means. I was born a woman. I have periods. I have boobs. I feel like I don't feel like a dude. I've never felt like a guy before. I know that I look like my brother and my father, which is controversial. But I mean, it's genetics, it happens, so what? But I never felt like I was ever misplaced gender-wise. So when it started becoming a thing in like 2016, 2017, that's when I really started seeing transgenders all over the place. I just thought it's something that people just want to do to kind of follow the trend and ride the wave and be this. But then I started learning, which I guess doesn't make me so ignorant, that transgenders have been around for a long time. They were just known as transsexuals in like the 80s and the 90s. So if you were a man who felt like a woman on the inside, you were a transsexual, not a transgender.
Right.
Which is your sex was wrong, not your. So they just changed it to gender.
And it even goes further back into the Egyptian time where there were some pharaohs who slept around and they thought they identify more towards a different gender, so they built their appearance to look like that. So you might have different pharaohs who might feel like, oh well, I like more men and I'm a man, but I want to appear. They had
to be women in order for that to work. They couldn't just be gay or bi. Like they had to. Okay.
So they had to alter that. They gave themselves the long hair, or they did the bedazzled hairstyle.
Okay, so you're telling me that transsexuals or transgenders existed before gay people?
Basically, that could be the way. Like honestly, there were people who wanted to be like, oh, okay, well, I like men and women, but I like to have that appearance of trying to get the one I want, which is I'm a look like a woman so I can get a man.
So what if you wanted to look like a man to get a woman? We just go back. So that would be more like.
Or they might cut their hair so they can give off that masculine look, because they might have those cheekbones or whatever, that facial structure of a man. They like, okay, if I cut my hair, I'll look more masculine. I'll rope off my breast so I can have that burlier chest instead of.
I'll have to Google that because that is interesting as hell.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last couple of lines in the song, we're almost finished. Oh gosh, I feel this is.
It says, "Look at him greedy." Yeah.
Look at them greedy and arrogant, relying on phones, going through life thinking that they have minds of their own. We can build weapons for every nation, even the streets will cause disagreements to body sleeping. Oh, there's another one. I'm sorry. I have a question. How can you be sure that this will all work? It already has. We did it on a planet called Earth. Okay, so I didn't know that was the last line of the song. So that was the last line of the song. So if that last line, now the story has shifted ever so slightly to the left. Because I was under the impression this is the gods addressing the Universal Council about his plans to create Earth. But what he's doing is replicating what he's already done to another planet. So he's already done everything that he said. Like, I already know this is gonna work. This is grade A stuff. I've done it before. I'm just gonna do it again to see.
It's like showing a product off, like it's just
Earth
something
is the
that
prototype.
you can pull off. You can pull this off the shelf. Like, hey, I got this plan, and it's perfect. It's like picking up a book and like, here, I'm showing y'all this is the best book that you've ever seen. Look, this is all that's gonna happen. And they go, oh, I like that book. I'm a do it on my side of the galaxy or the universe. Or I'm gonna do it over here in this quadrant. Or I'm gonna see if these groups of planets are gonna be perfect to indoctrinate my ideals to, which is the ideals of this one individual who's already done this.
Right. And that's wild to me because I was under the impression that he was, like I'm saying, like he was telling the future. But the reality is, and this is what we're seeing happening right now, is history repeating itself. Nothing that we know is brand new. Everything that we're learning, everything that we're doing, everything that is happening has happened before. It's just happening in a different time period and virtually in a different universe on a different planet, because the world is the same world that it used to be.
J. Cole being one of the most familiar for saying it, he says literally nothing new under the sun. And it's true, because if you think about it, everything that we're doing right now is something somebody else has done. Shit, if you look into the Bible even says that the planet was wiped because it was dark and there were crazy things that were happening in the past before there was the sun. It was evil. It was full of evil and darkness. So let's say, and then before that, or not before that, but after that, it was like Noah. He wiped the planet away because why? There were things that were going on that he didn't approve, which was dark and malicious. So he wiped the planet.
And I think when I think about my beliefs on reincarnation, it all makes sense. That everything, not just people regenerating into new beings, whether they be, like I said, humans or animals or otherwise, but even the planet itself reincarnates and starts.
It cycles and it starts anew. I'm surprised if it would either we burn up in flames or we turn into an ice age in the near future, but it's going to cycle back over.
It has
in some way, shape, or form. It's just our normal ecosystem, just like how it'll get real hot, then it'll rain, and then it'll get real hot again, and then it'll rain. It's that cycle. Shoot, animals eat grass, we eat animals, and then we die and the grass is being ate. it's just the cycle that we go through. So yeah, I definitely understand the history repeating itself, because it's going to. It's like it's almost an inevitable thing.
Yeah,
Like we can't stop it if we wanted to. Shoot, this planet can blow up, but there's gonna be another planet that's doing the exact same shit that we were doing. Exactly. Because
and that whole theory of like, are we alone in the universe? We can't be. I'm not
saying
there's
billions and billions and billions of stars out there.
And there's somebody with planets that are exactly like ours. So for you to think, and then that's the other thing, when it just comes to the universe is so massive in size. Mm-hmm. It's
ever expanding. It's infinite.
So for you to think that your one little itty bitty insignificant ass life matters to the universe, it doesn't. It just matters to you and the people around you. So you may be an important character in your immediate household, or if you're a little bit bigger than that, your city, like if you're a mayor or a politician or some shit like that.
Well, like you Jay-Z, you're a billionaire.
Yeah, but that's as far as it goes.
It don't matter. It really
no, it doesn't. Like, that's as far as it goes. As big as you are here is as big as you're ever going to be, period. It doesn't matter anywhere. If there was another Earth that was discovered that we could travel to, the richest man and the richest woman in the world could leave this Earth and go to that one, and their wealth and their power would not matter on another Earth. It only matters here. Like, it doesn't, no one else cares. Like, you're the only person who really gives a shit. So, and unless you have a lot of people depending on you, then of course they care because they're dependent on you. But the universe does not give a shit.
Right, and it's very cruel. It can be very cruel. If you put your mind in that state where you have to feel like you're the most important. At the end of the day, it really doesn't affect if you die right now that the whole world's gonna shift.
It's not.
It's gonna flip upside down. Shit, the stars are aligned and the sun is gonna blow up. No, it's not gonna change nothing, because
care less about you.
Your life, you're one person on a planet that has 8 billion people on it, and then you got a galaxy or universes far beyond you, and that ain't gonna affect anybody. That we can fucking send somebody to Mars right now. Your death, that guy is not gonna know that you died if he's on Mars. He's like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get my next meal. I'm on this bare planet, like it takes you so far. It's like the little Russian dolls that you open up, there's another person, and then you open up, there's
yeah.
That's basically how this world works. You don't really matter. It's still gonna be.
But with that being said, I think as far as what's going on, because of the logic that if, heaven forbid, if the Earth blew up right now, because I'm gonna be honest, I like my life. I don't want it to end. If the Earth blew up right now, it wouldn't mean a damn thing to the universe, but it does matter to the people here existing on it. So, with that being said, you're not any bigger than the person you're standing next to physically.
Right.
No.
And honestly,
your lives are just as insignificant as each other's, so you might as well get along with each other.
Right.
We're both insignificant anyway. Why are we fighting? Like,
shoot, Logic made me laugh, but he said it the best. He's like, no matter if you got $1 billion or you got 2 pennies to your name, the grave is still the same depth. It's 6 feet. So
ultimately, because your made out of gold and mine's made out of cardboard doesn't mean we're not going to be buried in the same dirt. Like, that doesn't matter. So I mean,
and ultimately, to me, like with all the music that I presented upon this platform, I find this one to be the most impactful to me, because it's almost like a very humbling feeling knowing that I'm so small. Like, especially Like I'm sure I'm a short individual anyway, so it really don't matter. But
what are you like 5'2", 5'3"?
I'm 5'3.5". I'm almost 5'4". I give myself a little inch in the morning if I stretch well. That's why I'm in yoga. But ultimately, it's really humbling because if Jay-Z listened to this song, I'm sure he'd be like, "Damn, like I don't care how much money I make or how many times I finesse this person and that person to make my millions and billions of dollars. Ultimately, we're gonna be in the same spot, praying to these gods or these entities or these things that ultimately affect my life, but I don't even know it. I think I'm doing this all of my own will. Right. I got free will. I do everything on my own. I'm very independent. It doesn't matter. You just a pawn or a cog in a big giant machine that is ultimately the universe, that if you cracked and decayed and you're gonna get replaced. That's it.
That's it. That is very humbling, and honestly, I had that realization a couple of years ago. Just think, because I love astronomy, I love like the stars and everything that's in the galaxies and the universes and all that good shit. Like I'm very, very intrigued by that. So I had this epiphany a couple of years ago, like we as earthlings really don't matter to the rest of the universe. Like even our main solar system, like if something happens to Earth right now, that wouldn't even affect the solar system. Planets would still be running, everything would still be going on. So why do we hate each other so much when we're all just riding the same wave? Literally, it does not matter. Whatever, and then I think I was telling myself this to kind of talk me through whatever problems I was having. Because at the end of the day, whatever problem you're having, it doesn't matter. Like,
shoot, every day after that is different.
Yeah.
So it's really not gonna, like, I might stumble down the stairs and I gotta recover because I hurt myself, but ultimately that didn't affect my partner or it didn't affect my dog or anything outside of that, because they still love me. The world's gonna still work whether or not I tripped and fell down the stairs and hurt myself. Things gotta still get done. Shoot, bills gonna stay piling up even during a crisis. We're in a crisis right now.
Things are gonna still keep rotating. So
right, we're in this crisis right now, and no matter what, your bills gotta still get paid. You still gotta pay taxes, and you still have to live. Like, no matter what's going on, as soon as your life ends, somebody else is picking up. That's it. And I find that all this, the music that we went over today, basically told that story, put you in that driver's seat, that gave you that feel like, oh, okay, this is this, or this is that. But the most impactful to me was the experiment, solely because it really made you sit there and be like, wow, well, like what happens, what's happening right now, I feel like it's been written in a book that's already set in stone. So it really don't matter what I'm doing.
It doesn't matter. Like,
right.
It just don't matter. And that's I mean, in a lot of ways, yes, that's depressing. That's very, very depressing. But at the same time, like you said, it should humble you. Like, whatever you think your biggest problem is, it's not your biggest problem.
Shoot, you don't, like,
whether you pass it or not, the universe is still going to be working whether you resolve it or not. So you might as well just try to make the best of it, and you try to have a good time while you're here. Enjoy what you can. You know what I'm saying?
Learn something that's impactful to you.
And I mean, shit, if you don't get it right this time, you'll get it right in the next life. I mean, shit, I don't that's the best way I don't get it right.
You might think you're going to get reincarnated as a fish. You might become some alien looking thing 20 light years away or some shit on some planet, or you might even become a blade of grass who gets cut eventually. It really doesn't matter. Just live in the moment. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, why I don't go when I go to concerts, why I don't pull out my phone and take 1,000,000,001 pictures. I'm just living in the moment. Like
a 10
well, but that's I'm not saying that it's wrong.
Because I want to be able to come back to it and be like, I remember that. But
right. And I don't knock anybody who does that. But it's just for me, I have a lot of experiences that I'd rather like just be like, damn, I remember that one time, and I can paint a picture myself.
Right.
I can tell you, oh, I did this and this and this at this time doing this. I was there, and like I can give you that, or I can show you a picture and you be like, oh, that's cool, and that's it. But if I gave you a meaningful story and things that I did,
like that's better, because then whoever you're telling the story to can live it with you. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're really descriptive and vivid about the thing that you saw and what you felt and what you were doing and who was around you. That makes it a better story to me.
And that's why I like the music that I displayed in this.
These were all four very different, but very like explicit stories in their own sense. And they all, first of all, they've made for great conversation. So thank you for bringing them to the table. But they all made you think in one way or another about just everything. I think you hit every single topic with 4 different songs, and they all just wrote together so nicely because they all do tell stories from different perspectives, from different objects' perspectives, and even what's just going on in the world right now and how we play our roles in it. It's relevant.
These 4 songs, the time totals up to 18 minutes and some change. And
about 7 minutes, right? The first one.
Like yeah.
So that's
so ultimately 18 minutes of your time, you went through every emotion. You were angry, you were happy, you were like, what the hell? like
a little freaked out.
You were scared, like it freaked out. It almost felt like somebody was gonna go and try to cut your fingers off or burn you.
Or I think the better word would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it definitely hit some very uncomfortable like feelings, but these are the stories that actually to me are the most influential in the rap industry, because we don't hear that right now. Unless you're looking for it, you don't just hear it on the mainstream media. Like you don't hear it on 101.1 to be jams. Yeah, you won't hear songs like this, and you're like, damn, there's people out here that think like me, or they are so unique to themselves that damn, like, okay, yes, you heard I'm Not a Racist by Joyner Lucas.
And that's a very controversial song. Anyway,
right.
It was why I was like, Joyner Lucas is a very controversial artist, but you said all 4 artists are. So it makes sense. I'm sorry, I got another video chat to do, but I have to use that.
Yeah.
But this was a great. First of all, thank you for bringing these songs to the table. Like I said,
definitely welcome.
And taking the time to actually go through and analyze these very deeply. This probably going to have to be broken up into like maybe 3 or 4. I'll probably do 1 for each song because we've been on here for about 2.5 hours. I don't know if you know that.
But yeah, they definitely are great songs. If you decided to break them down individually, you would have plenty of content to go off of solely because they speak for themselves. Like they're very controversial, but they're also very impactful at the same time, and those are the ones that you want to have to actually be able to have those conversations. People don't know how to have these conversations anymore because they too busy still thinking about the materialistic part of music. And
well, you do have that small, that not really, I'm the people who appreciate storytelling,
right? And that's why you hear those
time to time too. I feel like I'm one of those people. Like I appreciate a good story, but at the same time, I like to have a good time. You know, I listen to music.
Sometimes you gotta throw your Cardi B on. Sometimes you gotta throw your Offset, your Migos on.
Just not too often, but every so often you gotta get loose. But
right, you know, because you don't want to be a square all your life. You need some curves, some circles around there.
So, and that's important as well to know when to relax, kick back, let loose, have fun. It doesn't have to be serious all the time.
Because music is very emotional, and it takes those emotions to make the music that we discuss, and that's all music in general. Shoot, to make a turn up song, you gotta be turned. You gotta be in that mode to want to get silly out of there.
Amigo session sounding like the teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, who's monotoned and emotionless. Like,
right. You don't want to go in there with like Black, like how he is when he goes in the booth. He seems monotone, but he speaks volume. Don't get me wrong. I love Black. He's great. But like, you don't want to go to a session and try to have that Black emotion towards it, like Amigo session. Those two just, to me, wouldn't work. I wouldn't jam out to a like Amigo song featuring Black if it's supposed to be turn up.
Right.
Like, I don't know how.
Anything wrong with Black artist? He's a good artist, but he's
great.
You know what I mean?
He's not known to try to get you lit. Like you, I'm about to go to the rave. Like you might, I'll listen to Tech Nine.
Look in my room with the lights off.
Right, I would listen to Tech Nine or like one of those. If I'm trying to get me some rave music and me trying to get turned up, but I'm not gonna go to listen to Black and be like, oh, I'm just turned today, or I'm not gonna listen to the Migos and them tell me about how much I love this woman without feeling like I want to. I got bitches and hoes.
And so basically, long story short,
everybody stays in their lane.
There's a vibe for everybody. Mm-hmm. Every artist has a specific vibe. I mean, and some people vibe differently. Some people's turn up music is their chill out music, and some people's chill out music is their turn up music. It just depends.
Some people might just listen to classical music, and that's how they get turned.
That's okay. That's totally fine. I mean, so it really also depends on the person, the preference, the environment, and what's playing at the time. But once again, thank you so much for doing this with me this afternoon, taking these 2.5, almost 2 hour, 45 minute long talks. Well, it might be a little less than 2 hours. And we should do this again sometime.
Of course, I'm always available.
Great.